What's going on, everybody? Sixfer here with a contest entry for Chlohans1973. He's doing a contest. He wants to know your top 10 best running backs of all time. Not necessarily your favorite, but who you think is the best. Everybody probably already knows who is subbed to me who my number one will be. And when I get to that, I'll have some opinions for a certain somebody out there. But I'll get started. I'll put Drew's contest down in the description box if you guys want to get in. I think you have until Friday to get in. It's giving away a couple cards that the random winners will choose. Number 10. I haven't heard this guy yet from the videos I've seen. Not necessarily stat-wise did he get a lot of yards, you know, like up there with the upper echelon guys, but I think he changed the game as far as running back position is played, and that's Roger Craig. And if anybody knows me, I'm not a Nebraska fan, and he still made my list, and that's because that's where he played college. But he was the very first 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving back, and actually changed the game for the guys like Marshall Faulk and Edgerrin James and all them guys that ended up being really good receivers and kind of modeled after him, I think, and where the game is modeled after today. Number 9. Just because he's one of my favorite running backs of all time. He had a great career. I think he's underrated. I love his autograph. I have one. It's got a cool star on it and stuff. So if you guys definitely check that out. But Ricky Watters, he had 7,000. I have a lot of this stuff wrote down because I can't remember all that. 7,000 yard seasons. Only one of them with San Francisco, shockingly. Over 10,000 yards and 91 touchdowns. He was just an underrated guy who never got the credit I think he deserved. I think his attitude kind of had something to do with that, but he played hard, harder than what he's given credit for, I think. Next up, number 8, Edgerrin James. Another receiving back. And I'm not all about the receiving backs. It's just these guys put up great numbers and were great for their teams. 12,000 yards, 91 touchdowns. Out of them 91 touchdowns, 44 of them were receiving. And, of course, he had Peyton Manning for a quarterback, so he had that helping him out. 2,000 scrimmage yards 3 times in his career, which is pretty good. You don't see that very often. Number 7, the old Mr. Reliable, Curtis Martin. Everybody knows Curtis Martin. 10 1,000-yard seasons, 100 touchdowns. That's just stable. That's what you look for in a running back. A guy that runs the ball. Number 6, Marshall Faulk. Loved Marshall Faulk when he was at San Diego State. Loved him when he came out and he went to the Colts and put up great numbers all throughout his career and shined, I feel, in St. Louis when he was surrounded by a lot more talent. Indy, he was pretty much the only guy there. He kind of went through some crappy times quarterback-wise. Had like one decent season there, if I remember right, the one time they went to playoffs with Harbaugh as quarterback. But 12,000 yards, 136 touchdowns, 36 of those were receiving touchdowns. And he was a smart player, too. I remember seeing a game against, it was when the Rams blew up in 99, they went again. They ended up losing to Tennessee, but in that game, just the time was running out, and one of the Rams players got hurt, and I remember Marshall just picking him up and grabbing him so they didn't lose a timeout and still gave him a chance to win. So that's something I always remembered with him, and that really clicked with me. I thought that was pretty cool that he's smart like that. A lot of players won't do that. Number 5, LaDainian Tomlinson. The guy has to be on the list. He's one of the all-time greats. I mean, for years, since that guy came out of college, he was just a monster on the field. He was borderline unstoppable at times. He did everything. 13,000, almost 14,000 yards in 11 seasons. In the last 3 seasons of his career, he didn't even hit 1,000 yards. So, and probably the biggest stat of his career is 162 touchdowns in 11 seasons. That's pretty damn good. And I can't remember if he still has a single season touchdown record or not. I know he did it one time. Number 5, this guy, if he isn't right now, he's going to be one of the all-time greats. Adrian Peterson. These top 4 guys, they carried their team. In my opinion, they didn't have the the cast around him that helped them shine. They shined on their own, in their own way, and Adrian Peterson definitely does that. Look at all the crap players the Vikings have had quarterback-wise that he's had to deal with. And no offense to Vikings fans, they understand it, I'm sure. It's just the guy does everything for that team, and he's getting 8 men in the box, and he's still putting up these numbers. But he's been in the league 7 years, averages 5 yards a carry. He currently has a little over 10,000 yards, which is the same pace as Jim Brown, and he could actually crush Jim Brown's record. Or catch Jim Brown faster than Jim Brown got there. And already has 91 touchdowns. That is just insane. He's actually only 2,197 yards away from Jim Brown. And I'll get to Jim Brown later, of course. Next up, number 3, Walter Payton. I put Walter Payton here, I don't know. I just like the other 2 guys better, I think. The guy was amazing running back. 16,000, over almost 17,000 yards. As with Adrian Peterson, he carried that team on his back for years and had to go through a lot of rough times and still put up the numbers. And it wasn't all about he was the man on that team pretty much. There was him and then nobody else until 85. But so Walter's number 3. Number 2 is Jim Brown. He's actually fullback technically, but everybody remembers his running back. He retired when he was 29 years old, and he still had a good 4 or 5 years left in him. And he got in 9 seasons he had 12,312 yards. So, and he averaged 5.2 yards per carry. If you watch old footage of him, he was a man among boys. He was unstoppable. He won a ton of championships, and he didn't need to do it anymore. So that's number 2. I would like to see what Jim Brown would have done if he would have stayed in a few more years. And give a little shout out to my buddy Brad. Love you, Brad, but I kind of don't agree with how it's described this next guy, Barry Sanders. Of course, he's my number 1, not just because I'm a Lions fan. I grew up watching Barry Sanders play through college, through the pros. Of course, I love that he was a Lion, but the guy, he was just amazing. Everybody says, well, he lost all these yards. He didn't have nowhere to run. These 15,269 yards came from holes that he had to make on his own because he had no offensive line to block for him. That's what the eye test. I seen it. Yeah, the guy lost yards, but he'd make up for it. And he did receive out of the backfield. He had 2,921 yards. Not bad for a team that didn't throw a lot of screen passes. They were run and shoot most of the time and throwing it down the field. 18,190 total yards from scrimmage. Excuse me. That's a lot more than just handing the guy the ball and running. He's doing a lot on his own. Because there weren't holes there for him to run through like Emmitt Smith had. Yeah, Emmitt's had the line, and Emmitt has the rushing title. Emmitt would have never got that title. Sorry, all the Cowboy fans. He would have never got that rushing title had Barry not retired. If Barry would have had, and I think it was Brad that said Emmitt had the best vision. Who couldn't see 10 yards down the field through holes you could drive a truck through? Barry didn't have that. He was 5'9", couldn't see over linemen. I think he had pretty good vision. It's just, I think Barry just destroys Emmitt. Yeah, on paper he has more yards, but he had to play 5 more years to get past Barry. If Barry wouldn't have quit, he would have never caught him. So woulda, coulda, shoulda. Emmitt has the record. Emmitt knows it's Barry's record. And that's my top 10. Just had to give a little shout out to Brad. No, just a debate, that's all. If you want to debate with me in PMs or down below, whatever, I don't care. But that's my top 10. Barry's the man, always will be. No one can touch him. He was the greatest ever. So there you go. That's it. Everybody have a good one. And thanks for the contest, Drew. And like I said, I'll put the link below. So that's it. Everyone have a good one.